Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan here, the Miyazaki man Sai. Okay, we beat Atalanta 1-0, it wasn't enough. We're out of Europe in Klopp's ultimate final season. What went wrong? Many things. There were one or two positives, but actually there's not really many positives in the grand scheme of things, and some of the tactics were a little bit baffling, and I'm going to go through all of them one by one. Now, first and foremost, the only playmaker in the whole Liverpool team that's capable of sliding a through ball onto the forwards to come onto and score a goal in the last few weeks, in fact for most of the season, Alexis McAllister in the number 8 spot, sliding it through to Salah to sweep through first time over the top for Nunes, out wide to Lucho Diaz in between the lines, coming up on the right wing, crossing from the right wing as well. He has a sphere of influence that only needs a moment in time. So when he gets the ball, he adjusts. He's already eyed up and viewed the pitch. He's twitchy enough to view the pitch, 360 vision, before he gets the ball, which means when he gets the ball, his body shape's in the right position to slide someone through. Szoboszlai does not seem to have this ability, and actually I feel a little bit sorry for Szoboszlai because he seems a little bit lost in these tactics in terms of what he's actually meant to do. Traditionally, he's been an attacking midfielder, a right winger or a winger, but now he's been asked to play box to box and to cover for a right back position, which isn't predominantly his strength. So a little bit unfortunate for Szoboszlai, but his passes were just off key. They weren't really connecting. But back to Alexis McAllister. He has been our saving grace in the last few weeks, unlocking the door. He is the one with the vision, with the time and the tempo to get the ball and make the play, make things happen, play make, and transition into Mazzala number 10 position in the half spaces in front of the opposition defence, in and around the number 6 position in a kind of deep lying anchor position. He breaks the space, has a narrow field of vision so that when he receives the ball, he can do something with it to progress the play instantly. He doesn't need time. Someone like Szoboszlai or Curtis Jones need a big sphere of influence in terms of receiving the ball and having no one pressure them in order to get their head up and release the ball. They don't seem to have that instinct or that vision of the play to release the ball. And as a striker, as a Nunes, as a Salah, as a Lucho Diaz, as a Gakpo, when the players receive the ball, now I know this from being a striker myself, when certain players receive the ball, you know instantly to run. If Trent receives it in the half position on the right hand side, you know the ball's going to be whipped around. The left side is centre back, so you run diagonally onto it, or over the top, in which case make sure you're onside, off the cuff, on the shoulder, body language on half turn. When the ball comes over your shoulder, watch it onto your foot and a half volley it, full volley it, take a touch or something to slot it past the keeper. Certain players, when they receive the ball, it's a trigger point, off you go, you know what to do. You can't say that for Szoboszlai, you can't say that for Curtis Jones, you can't really say that for a lot of players historically. A Henderson, a Gini Wijnaldum for example, a Fabinho. But certain players, only a few players historically in the last few seasons of Liverpool, you know when they receive the ball, you go. You just go because they'll pick you out. You know that Gerrard will always pick you out, which is why Torres and Gerrard had a beautiful relationship, right? Torres went, Gerrard picked him out. Luis Garcia, he's very good at going in between the lines and sliding a ball through. Yossi Benayoun, massively underrated talent, jinking left and right, that little shoulder drop dribble. He slid Torres in many a time. Beautiful players that can do this. John Barnes was very good at doing this as well. Xabi Alonso, deep lying playmaking position, he can do it as well. So many players, you know, when they get the ball in that half space, they're going to slide you through because their playmaking ability is on point. Fabio Aurelio from the left hand side, he will pick you out for days. Trent from a deep lying position, deep lying playmaker, the quarterback is one of those players. And as you saw, Trent's influence, he's not completely fit, not completely match fit either. But he was our biggest threat in terms of a creative point of view because he knows straight away when he receives the ball, as the players are going to run, he's got to hit it early before the other players can key onto it. You know, the opposition can set themselves, set their body language, set their shape and catch them, for example. So Trent, unsurprisingly, was our biggest creative outlet. And when he came off, kaput. Because McAllister was kept in that deep lying 6 position. Now, in that deep lying 6 position, he cannot create from deep because ultimately he's being pressed. Their forward press, Atalanta, was very effective at closing down our time and space on the ball, which means when he tries to rotate and make the space, they can sit a man on him because they know for a fact that the other players just haven't got the ability to cut the lines in the same way a Trent or McAllister does. Similarly, as a defensive midfielder, as an anchorman, which is why I thought for sure Klopp would play Endo here and why I definitely played Endo in the tactical lineup, to release McAllister into that progressive role because he's the only one that can unlock the door to get an assist for the play. Now, Gakpo should have had loads of assists as well, but Salah's shooting boots were not on, and that's been a problem, right? I said it in this title, and I said it in the match preview. Lucho Diaz in the Europa League, Lucho Diaz and Mo Salah, you just don't trust when the chance comes to them that they're going to bury it away. It's going to be 50-50, it's going to be luck. You just don't think that they're going to put it away or have the confidence they're going to put it away. And Salah, with that finish, shinning it, without the clinical finishing, or at least finishing 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 chances, His off-the-ball movement, which is his main attribute this season, because he's lost to speed, he's lost to techers, he can't beat a man on the outside, he doesn't even take a man on anymore. He becomes a very questionable outlet on the right-hand side because our play breaks down on there, especially if you're looking to him as your main man, and he's very limited in what he can achieve there this season. Which means on the other side, you've got a mercurial talent like Lucho Diaz, who's an absolute dribbling maniac, a dribbling god, but he's not clinical at all and does not get you that goal threat instantly, because when he gets the ball, his first thought is to stand up a man, shimmy, half turn diagonal, half body diagonal, square him up, and I'd take him on, right? It's not a player that can receive it first time, play it first time in between the lines or behind someone. He always is looking to dribble, and he doesn't have the power and ferocity and aggression of a Sadio Mane, who you know will go straight, shortest route to goal, and his only thoughts are, how can I get to goal as quickly as possible? Now, Mane lost some of his pace, acceleration towards the latter part of his tenure at Liverpool, but he always had the power, he always had the aggression and that directness, that ruthlessness, and he would not give the defenders a moment's rest, because any switch off of concentration and he'll go right at you. And additionally, his shot power is excellent. He doesn't need to do this curved shot, curled shot that Lucho Diaz needs to do, that Mo Salah needs to do. He's got a straight rocket that he can hammer with either foot, left foot or right foot. And that's what we're really missing out at the moment. Someone who's ruthless, someone who's got the power and directness to just go straight to the shortest route to goal. Suarez could jink and dirt ball his way through into shooting opportunity. Mane could power his way into the opportunity, especially during an earlier career. Now, if you have your Salah and you have your Lucho Diaz, you need the Firmino in there to bring in the space, in those half spaces for diagonal runs, to get themselves in position to be slotted in to take the shot on goal. Now, Cody Gakpo, this was a kind of false nine position for him, and he actually did a decent job. He's not a Bobby Firmino who can absolutely dominate the play from that false nine role. The whole book on Bobby Firmino on the false nine role, Klopp mentioned himself, alluded to it. Gakpo is not a Firmino. Now, what did Klopp try to do in this particular game? He went back to the style of old. Robertson bombing down, Trent bombing down, Trent inverting into the middle as well. Two inverted wingers and a false nine pseudo shadow striker, more of a shadow striker than a false nine, because only Firmino was a true false nine in our play historically. Engines, right? Szoboszlai as the engine, McAllister at the base. He's not a Fabinho either, and also that's another drawback, because having McAllister there, he has to keep an eye on Koopmeiners, and Koopmeiners was roaming like a maniac and created a lot of Atalanta. In fact, Atalanta's best chances came because Koopmeiners was lost in the transition, because he's so intelligent and roams really well. And McAllister had so much responsibility. Not only has he been played into the ground because he plays every match almost every minute, he has to have the defensive responsibility to stop Atalanta's transitions, be that defensive shield, get on the ball, receive the ball from our centre backs, and then try to break the lines and be our creative force and try to transition and get up the field as well, because Curtis Jones is just lost in this midfield as a pseudo Gini Wijnaldum who just does not have the technical attributes and the physicality to progress the ball and hold on to the ball. All he does is get the ball, look up, look forward, it's going backwards. Similarly, McAllister, when he gets on the ball in the 6, he is our only creative outlet in that midfield, which means when they press him, instantly, unless he tries to be brave and turn a man at risk of losing the ball in the most dangerous position, which is our 6th position, he played it back to Alisson, which means that if we're looking to McAllister and he has to play it back to Alisson, that's why Alisson ended up having the most touches of the whole team, which is bonkers and bizarre, forcing Alisson to kick long. Now, Alisson can kick long, but our forwards have no cohesion. Núñez, Salah and Diaz do not work well together. Now, the only ploy that I saw working when you have Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back is, why not let Núñez have a proper go at their right back, their right centre back, dash him in, hit him behind, physicality. It doesn't matter what your form is, what your touch is like. When you have that speed and that physicality and aggression, you will always find some joy in that space, because they cannot stand off and they cannot go tight either, which means playing Alexander-Arnold for his best deliveries into that left wing slot in and behind the defence, or out wide to a Núñez, that was the call, or even to a Gakpo out there who can cut in and make play happen. But we didn't do that. We had to go with Lucho Diaz, who spend so much time dribbling that they get back into shape, or Mo Salah, who can't even beat the first man, they get back into shape. And we didn't have the McAllister to intelligently break down their shape up there, because they decided not to play Endo. And Szoboszlai having to cover for Trent as well, and Curtis Jones, who just can't power and transition through the lines, because for all his technical ability, he hasn't got the bravery to put it together to make that impact, make that difference. As soon as we made the subs, the game was finished, because Atalanta set their shape, sat deep, and we couldn't break through. Too late to bring on Elliott, too late to bring on Núñez. Jota, ineffectual. He tried to worm his way in, but why was Jota on the right hand side? Once again, you need your best finisher in the middle creating chances. Ultimately, we fell short, and the personnel were not available, and the tactics were not inspiring enough to make a difference against Atalanta, who played their socks off and deservedly went through. I think Klopp has to look at other ideas. Jadon Danns was great in terms of off-the-ball movement, turning away from trouble, playing the ball, rotating and shifting. He looked like a live wire, and he can finish as well. We've seen quality finishes from Jayden Dands in under-21s, and when he's been given a chance in the first team as well. Favouritism is a bit tiresome lately because we've been trying the same thing over and over again, and the patterns of play are so basic that when individuals cannot stand up their man and beat their man and outperform the direct opposition marker, which Atalanta do a man marking formation, but even when it's not a direct man marking formation, you've got to beat opposition on the opposite side of the pitch to make something happen, to either beat the first press, beat the man, beat the long press, beat the transitional shape, or work it between your triangles of three to make the opportunity. If you cannot do that, then the tactics are flawed and you have to change it up. You have to try something different. But Klopp is insisting again, with faith, maybe historic faith, maybe blinded faith, to try the same things over and over again. Lucho Diaz cutting inside, Salah cutting inside, bombing fullbacks onwards, the olden style of Klopp play without a Firmino, without a prime Mane, without a prime Salah, without the engine room who's a cohesive unit who know exactly where to play the ball because they've been playing together for years and years. Also, the lack of leaders, right? Look at leadership, right? Virgil van Dijk, sure, I think he's a good captain. But his lackadaisical attitude, he's very, very calm, and in the dressing room, he wants to be popular. He wants to be loved. He loves the attention. He's a cheeky chappy. He'll give a bit of banter and smack, but he's not the hard nut who actually drives people up the wall and actually shows irateness and anger like a Milner, like a Henderson, right? Sure, good cop, bad cop, but actually Henderson and Milner, both of them are tough cookies. I don't think you want a stare down from Milner or Henderson, and they know when you haven't put effort in and when you haven't performed to try to G them up. Whereas Van Dijk, I think, needs to be a little bit loved and a little bit popular, and he wants to be in good relationship with everyone. So it's a different vibe. We have lost some of those key leaders in that dressing room. I feel we don't have the Milner, we don't have the Henderson, and even to a lesser extent the Lallana as well. The leaders in the dressing room, sure, Trent is one of the leaders, but he's not really vocal and he hasn't really got that tough nut job gangster mob mentality. He's more like a lead by example type player. And Robertson, being the Joker as well, one of the senior members and a leadership member as well, he's not going to shout authoritatively as well because you wouldn't take him seriously. And similar to Mo Salah as well, he's got a soft voice and he's softly spoken and he's very, very intellectual and mature, but he's not that hard nut who will stand you up and chest you and thump you into the wall or something, which I reckon Milner and Henderson provided, and we really lack that kind of imposing leadership quality. There's an aura about them even if the technical quality was waning due to age. So where do we go from here, right? We've got to pick ourselves up for Fulham away, which is not an easy fixture as well because they've got quality players that can really do damage. Andreas Pereira, Willian, Wilson, Jimenez. So we've really got to be up for that because we can't afford to lose. At the moment, we're almost chancing it in the way that we really need other teams to do us a favour by beating and taking points off Arsenal and Man City because you can't trust our consistency at the moment, which is a scary prospect. So that's where we're at in the Premier League. We're not out of the race. We just won a game, albeit we've got knocked out of the tie. Confidence is low. Confidence in Klopp is particularly low, and we don't seem to have the personnel to really get us out of this funk as well because we don't have the leaders in the squad in the same way we historically had in the past, the big characters. But additionally, this is scary to say, but our forward line looked tremendous at the start of the season, right? Luis Diaz, Mo Salah, Diogo Jota, Cody Gakpo, Nunes, agent of chaos, Gakpo. We stole him off Man United, cutting inside from left wing. Lucho Diaz, world-class winger. Mo Salah, world-class goal scorer. Diogo Jota, our best finisher. Jayden Dands in the ranks. We didn't even know about him until he came to prominence partway through the season. We had lots and lots of firepower in this team up front. Harvey Elliott aside, kind of pseudo Mo Salah as well. But we don't have the clinical one that you'd count on to really pull you out of the rut, to pull you out of the mould in terms of, yes, I'm here and I will get you the goals if you need to win that scrappy 1-0. The Luis Suarez, the Fernando Torres, right? We don't have that. We don't have that at the moment. So it almost seems as though we might need to go to market. We've been linked to Victor Gyökeres, right? Up front, that would be a very interesting one. Osimhen would be absolutely OP, but we probably won't deal with Napoli, and the transfer fee would be exorbitant as well. I really think perhaps we do need that extra striker. We might need a defensive midfielder because no matter how good Endo is, he's been tiring in the last few weeks and looks exhausted and out on his feet and didn't even play, which tells you a lot about his current physical condition and how much he's exerted himself for the cause for this season as well. So we need another defensive midfielder to allow McAllister to always play predominantly in that more advanced playmaking position. But in terms of playmaker, I don't want him to be the only playmaker. I always have loved the number 10 player, the Pablo Aimar, or even an attacking midfielder like a Kaká, which I thought Szoboszlai was going to be for us, but we don't really play with that attacking midfielder because in order to facilitate attacking midfielder like Kaká and a deep line playmaker like Pirlo, if you want to put Trent there, you need that Gattuso, that hound who absolutely chases and harasses, but that Clarence Seedorf is what we miss as well. That technical genius who can offer everything in offensive transition and defensive transition. And we don't have a balanced player because Jones just doesn't show the heart, even though he's got the technical attributes for it. Probably doesn't have the physicality for it. So perhaps a beast in the midfield might be worthwhile. But I think he's more of a defensive midfield player that we need someone like a João Palhinha to play alongside Endo or switch with Endo on occasion to allow McAllister to go forward. But also looking at centre back, that's a bit worrying as well because Konate can be injured, and even how he had his hands full with Skamaka, he didn't offer much going forwards. Only Matip really offered something going forwards in terms of running. So obviously Ignacio is being linked, and Hincapié as well, and all these kind of players. It would be very, very interesting to see what we do. I think we're pretty covered on right back position. Conor Bradley is the one wild card that offers something in terms of breaking the lines, being technically good, confident on the ball, and actually making something happen in the final third, having the composure to try to pick someone out, to beat a man, to pick someone out. Bradley's quality on the right. Robertson does the job on the left hand side. Simicast is 50-50 in regards to what he's still offering to the squad as well. But I think in fullbacks we're pretty comfortable because Gomez can actually cover both positions as well. So it looks like a centre back, a defensive midfield player. I'd really, really want a playmaker. Obviously Wirtz is the gold standard alongside someone like Odegaard as well. But then we need a winger. We kind of need a winger as well, because where's our direct winger who can go and score like your Sadio Mane, right, and your Salah of old? Pedro Neto. If you stand up the wingers right now, Mo Salah in current form, Lucho Diaz in current form, Pedro Neto, Kaoru Mitoma, Kudos, Jared Bowen, Lucho Diaz and Salah, for me, are at the bottom of the list in terms of expectancy to score when the chance presents itself, which is a scary prospect because Jared Bowen's shooting is immense with the left foot, but even good with the right foot. Pedro Neto has a good shot as well. Kaoru Mitoma is super direct and has a great placed shot as well. Kudos is absolutely sublime in terms of techers, and he's got a good shot as well. Lucho Diaz and Salah, for all their skills, do not seem to have a good shot. That's a scary, scary prospect for us right now. But that's the reality of the situation. No sugarcoating it, just analysing what happened in the Atalanta match, a lack of confidence, a lack of form ever since we got knocked out of the FA Cup, which we did dominate as well, and we did dominate them in the Premier League fixture as well, but we couldn't put that one away due to personal mistakes. Unfortunate Quanta there. He's a kid with confidence as well. He'll come back to prominence, I'm sure. We massively miss Thiago Alcantara as a game-changing player for this team because we have no one else. Well, not many teams have someone like him, but we really, really needed his ability to break through the lines and break through the press because we just don't seem to have that from midfield position. Now, for Harvey Elliott, for his endeavour, and he really, really tries, his influence in the game is up and down because he's still a youngster. He hasn't got the physicality, but he does have the technique and the desire and the quality as well. So we do need a semi-rebuild in the summer, but the positions we prioritise will ultimately depend on the formation, the tactics, and the way the new manager wants to play, right? And I think we will have the budget for. We've got to back him, and we've got a new setup with Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards who will be keen to make an impact as well. So I expect a lot of transitioning, a lot of changing, contracts expiring, Thiago, Matip, for example, and renewals of contract. And wherever Trent decides to play next season, he'll be alongside the manager to incorporate him into the most effective role. But I really think Klopp needs an alternative way of playing because our patterns of play are so predictable, and when the players are not in form and cannot outperform what they need to do in that current role to beat their man or break the position to create the chances, then we're really, really going to struggle. And the only way we've been creating chances is McAllister in advanced position. Now that Trent is back and hopefully finding form and fitness with Jota back as well, and hopefully Nunes, Salah and Lucho Diaz can't be missing shots worse than they already are. So with that, there must be an upturn, surely, somewhere along the line. You can't be poor consistently. At one given point in time, momentum has to shift, momentum has to change, and confidence comes along with it. So that's what I'm banking on. We're still in the title race. Not 100% optimistic about it. It's in Man City's hands completely, but anyone can beat anyone in Premier League. Let's sit back and watch what happens. This is Klopp's final tenure. I'll be supporting all the way, cheering all the way. Hopefully, he makes the correct tactical decisions to really give us the best chance of gaining something at the end of the season. The big one, the Premier League. Domo arigato. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Lots of content coming up as well. It's been a dour few weeks, but hey, I enjoy football. I love football in general, and I love Liverpool. I'll support all the way. I keep buying the kit. じゃあね、ありがとう皆さん。